Hormat Senator Dr. Zulkifli Hassan, Deputy Minister of Religious Affairs, Professor Emeritus Dr. Muhammad Azmi Umar, President and CEO of INSAF University, Mr. Nur Azamin Saleh, Chairman of FICAS Capital, distinguished guests, our panelists, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning and welcome to the official launch of the ESG-i Assessment Framework Empowering Sustainable and Ethical Growth of MSMEs. My name is Aida and I am your host for today's event. Today, we celebrate a significant milestone, the launch of the ESG-i Assessment Framework. This framework empowers micro, small, and medium enterprises by integrating sustainability into their operations, ensuring competitiveness and resilience in an ever-changing market. The ESG-i Assessment Framework harmonizes ESG principles with Islamic economics and finance, providing a practical solution for MSMEs to thrive sustainably. The report is the culmination of 15 months of hard work beginning in January 2023 and represents a collaborative between INSAF University and FICAS Capital effort towards sustainable and ethical business practices. Well, don't worry if you missed any of my points earlier because we will share something for you to understand better later. To kick off our event, it is my pleasure to invite Professor Emeritus Dr. Muhammad Azmi Umar, President and CEO of INSAF University, to deliver the opening speech. Please welcome.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. And a good morning to all of you. Senator Dr. Zulkifli Hassan, the Deputy Minister of Religious Affairs, Prime Minister's Department, Nur Azamin Saleh, the Chairman of FICAS Capital, distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues and friends, ladies and gentlemen. So Alhamdulillah, this morning we are indeed very pleased that we are able to gather to witness a very important event. And today, for your information, is the last day of the Global Islamic Economics and Finance Forum that is organized by Negara Malaysia and Ministry of Finance. The event started on Monday and today is the last day. In the context of INSAF, we have also another event at KLCC Convention Center. So all of us are spread out throughout this Monday to Thursday. So today we celebrate a momentous occasion, the official launch of the ESG-i framework. I stands for Islamic. This framework represents the culmination of tireless efforts, unwavering commitment, and a vision that transcends boundaries, aligning with the theme of the Global Forum on Islamic Economics and Finance, shaping a resilient global Islamic economy through value-based reforms. For your information, ladies and gentlemen, in February this year, we had the first conference, again, on value-based finance. But that conference early on in February was more focused on the academic conference. There were a lot of papers being discussed. And the Prime Minister decided that we should have another one, which was organized this week, to focus on the issues and bring in the industry players and regulators throughout the world. So if some of you have attended the event on Tuesday and Wednesday, we had participants coming from Russia, Central Asia, Africa, and of course, Southeast Asia. And we had also, apart from our Prime Minister, our Minister of Finance, we also have our closest neighbor, Indonesia, Minister of Finance of Indonesia, Ibu Sri Mulyani, who came to deliver a keynote address that was yesterday morning. Very important in the context that as we move towards value-based intermediation, as we move towards ESG, then we need to have what we say the taxonomy as well as the framework to be decided upon. So this is a very important work that we have today. So the ESG-i journey began with FICAS Capital, whose foresight ignited the journey. At the heart of the ESG-i framework lies the quadruple bottom line, QBL, a holistic approach that marries the global ESG standards with the timeless principles of Islamic finance. And within this framework, we meticulously consider the maqasid Sharia. That maqasid means, in Malay, in simple term, maqasid means maksud. In simple term, maksud, I'm sure those who learn Malay, maksud means the meaning of the objective. That is in simple terms. So maksud Sharia, in simple terms, which is the objective of Sharia. Okay, the objective of Sharia. So in essence, for some of you who may not be familiar, maksud Sharia, or the objective of Sharia, is basically to promote well-being, the goodness, okay, and avoidance of harmful things. So all of us as human beings, we want to have, a good life. We want to avoid harmful things, and that's the principles of maqasid. So in a sense that when we look at the ESG framework we look at all those parameters of the E, the S, and the G, the parameters, and we then infuse with the objectives of Sharia. Because at the end of the day, we human beings want to ensure that we live today, and we pass to the next generation a world which is similar, if not better than our generation. Obviously, we do not want to live to the next generation an environment that is worse than we have today, where social issues, human rights issues are not taken care of. 100 years ago, we have slavery, and we do not want slavery to be repeated in the future. So those kind of issues are very important. So we need to infuse the ESG, the environmental, the social, and the governance with the Islamic principles that is based on maqasid Sharia. And this collaboration with Ficus Capital and INSEAD began in January 2023, so slightly more than a year ago, 1.5 years ago, when we shared our vision, and this shared vision crystallized into a roadmap, one that harmonizes ESG principles with the tenets of Islamic economics and finance. So together, we embark on a journey of research, dialogue, and refinement. So again, coming back to the ESG, and this goes in line with what the Prime Minister mentioned in his speech on Tuesday, that we have to go beyond just the Sharia compliant. We have to go to ensure that meeting the objective of Sharia is very important. And the thing that we see today is the government is very much committed to see that we have to really incorporate the value base in our journey to make Malaysia, a country known not only in Islamic finance, but also known as the center or the heart for Islamic economy. I think that is a focus. So everyone here has a duty and responsibility to ensure that we achieve that objective. So this ESG-i Industry Roundtable was convened when we first started in February 2023, a gathering of minds, perspectives, and aspirations. We brought in regulators, scholars, practitioners, and thought leaders to shape the framework. So their insights have enriched our understanding and fueled our determination. So today, after 15 months, after the pivotal roundtable, we proudly unveil in a short while, the ESG-i framework. INSEAD has achieved several wins, including securing a prototype research grant from the Ministry of Higher Education to develop a standalone portal for the ESG-i framework, a portal that aims to connect the entire MSME sustainability ecosystem and be accessible to all MSMEs and practitioners alike. So the positive response from the pilot phase underscores the practicality and impact of the framework. So it provides MSMEs with the necessary tools to effectively integrate sustainability into business practices. In addition, it empowers them to be resilient, competitive, and future-ready. So this framework stands tall because it was forged in the crucible of global best practices. We benchmark rigorously, ensuring that our standards are met and often exceeded the expectations of the international community. And if you have been following the development of the ESG, more and more countries are putting the requirements that before you export, you need to meet the ESG criteria. So this framework will enable firms, particularly MSMEs, to fulfill that criteria and be able not only to meet the local standards, but also the international standards. So, dear guests, brothers and sisters, so we stand at the crossroads of the innovation and responsibility. The ESG framework is not merely a document, it is a call for action. It beckons investors, entrepreneurs, policymakers to embrace a new paradigm, one that transcends profit margins and embraces purpose. The quadruple, sometimes some people call quadruple helix, in the sense that we look at people, planet, profit, and prosperity. We look at that. So, to our guests, your presence today honors us, your commitment fuels our resolve. So together, let us embark on this transformative journey, one that shapes and reshapes finance, empowers communities, and safeguards our planet. So again, thank you very much for your presence today. And we thank everyone. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Mamazmi Omar, for your inspiring words. Next, I would like to invite Mr. Nur Azamin Sari, Chairman of Ficus Capital, to share his insights. Please welcome.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning. Yang berhormat, Senator Dr. Zulkifli Hasan, Deputy Minister of Religious Affairs, Professor Emeritus Datuk Dr. Muhammad Azmi Omar, President and CEO of INSEAF University, distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues and friends, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, I would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to the Deputy Minister, YB Senator Dr. Zulkifli Hasan, for honoring today's event. Your presence is a testament to your commitment and support, and we are deeply appreciative of the time and effort you have taken to be here with us today. As we gather on the final day of the Global Forum on Islamic Economic Finance, GFIEF, with the theme Shaping a Resilient Global Islamic Economy Through Value-Based Reforms, resonate deeply with our purpose, and I'm filled with gratitude with the attendance of everyone of you. Allow me to express my profound appreciation to INSEAF University for their partnership with Ficus Capital. What began as a rough idea has evolved into a comprehensive framework, the ESG-i assessment framework, empowering sustainable and ethical growth of the MSMEs. To co-develop the ESG-i framework with INSEAF, we engaged in a series of consultations, workshops, and field visits with various stakeholders, including MSMEs, financiers, regulators, and experts. We learned from their experiences, challenges, and aspirations, and incorporated their feedback into our design. We also conducted extensive research on the best practice and standards of ESG-i, both locally and globally, and benchmark them against the Islamic principle of Maqasid al-Sharia, which aim to protect the well-being of people and the planet. The result is a comprehensive and holistic framework that covers the environmental, social, governance, and Islamic principle aspect of MSMEs, providing them with clear guidance, benchmark, and tools to enhance their performance and impact. The ESG-i assessment framework offers a practical solution to help MSMEs integrate sustainability into their operations, ensuring they remain competitive and resilient. This aligns with our commitment to supporting companies that operate according to ESG-i principles. Dr. Marjan Muhammad and Dr. Iman Tabet, along with the expert team in INSEAF University, have tirelessly refined this vision and bringing life into its principle. I thank you all. At Factors Capital, the world's first Sharia venture capital, we firmly believe that actions speak louder than words. Our commitment to the ESG-i framework transcends rhetorics. It adds its purpose, impact, and tangible results. When companies seek our assessment, they must undertake the ESG-i framework evaluation. Beyond financial metrics, we delve into environmental practices, social impact, and corporate governance. Our standard aligns with global expectation. Guided by the Maqasid Sharia, the noble objective of Sharia, we ensure that companies contribute not only to their own growth, but also its betterment of society. At Ficus, we are committed to being a responsible investor and follow a rigorous ESG screening process before we invest our capital in any company. We evaluate their environmental impact, their social engagement with their stakeholders and communities, and their governance, quality, and openness. We also monitor ESG performance throughout our relationship and provide them with assistance and advice to help them achieve their ESG-i goals. By doing so, we seek to create long-term value for both our investors and society as a whole. We at Factors not only invest in ESG-i companies, but also contribute to the ongoing development of the ESG-i framework. We work with other stakeholders, such as regulators, academia, industry association, and NGOs to ensure the validity and reliability of the ESG-i framework. We also test the robustness of the process and the framework in real-world market situation by applying it to our own portfolio companies and comparing them with their peers and competitors. By doing so, we aim to support greater transparency and accountability in ESG field and encourage a culture of continuous improvement among our investees and the broader business community. In conclusion, the ESG-i framework beckons us beyond profit margins. It calls us to reshape finance, empower communities, and safeguard our planet. Let us embrace this historic moment together, guided by the quadruple bottom line principle, the people, planet, profit, and principle. Thank you. And thank you again for being part of our journey. Sekian. Wabillahi taufiq wa hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Mr. Nur Azman Saleh, for an insightful speech. And now, we would like to invite Yang Berhormat Senator Dr. Zulkifli Hassan, Deputy Minister of Religious Affairs, to the front for his officiating speech. Please welcome.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ومن شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا تحية طيبة وبركة عند الله أما بعد. Thank you very much to the Master of Ceremony, Yang Berbahagia Professor Emeritus Dr. Muhammad Azmi Omar, President and Chief Executive Officer of INSEAD University, Encik Nur Azman Saleh, Chairman of Ficus Capital, distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, friends, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and very good morning. It is a pleasure to be here with you today. I'm always thrilled to return to the Islamic finance industry, especially at this auspicious event, which is held as a side event to the Global Forum on Islamic Economics and Finance. The passions and innovations within this field never fail to inspire me, and thank you for having me today. Alhamdulillah. Talking about the ESG frameworks or the ESG index, I personally have experience in 2009 where I developed the S&P and Halkama Pan-Arab ESG Index for 11 MENA countries, Middle East and North Africa. I still remember how that we developed the indicators, the variables, the methodology into developing this ESG index. But the difference with the ESG-i framework, you can see from the conceptual frameworks as well as on the underlying philosophy, which is derived from Maqasid al-Sharia. So this is a commendable effort, and congratulations to Ficus Capitals and INSEF for developing this ESG framework. Ladies and gentlemen, Islamic finance has evolved from its historical roots to become a globally recognized industry with significant growth and diversifications. Modern Islamic finance began in the mid-20th century, expanding beyond traditional regions to countries worldwide. The industry has diversified its products, embracing innovation and integrating with conventional finance. Efforts in standardization and regulations have been crucial, along with a focus on social impact and sustainability. Overall, Islamic finance continues to grow, offering ethical and sustainable investment alternatives on a global scale. Prime Minister Dr. Sri Anwar Ibrahim, in his speech at the Global Forum on Islamic Economy and Finance on Monday, highlighted that the principles of Islamic finance remain relevant to bridge the gap between the have and have-nots to promote shared societal cohesion. To which I agree. I believe that it is natural for Islamic finance development to converge with ESG, as there are many attempts and initiatives to promote Islamic social finance amongst Islamic banks and Islamic financial institutions in Malaysia. Hence, we are here today to witness the outcome of the 15 months intensive work and dedication between Ficus Capital and INSEF University in developing this ESG Islamic framework. The establishment of the framework is timely, and I hope it can be a catalyst towards greater integration between Islamic finance and ESG. The framework is developed to elevate the QBL, or the quadruple bottom line principles, which focus beyond financial profit for companies and financial institutions. This is highly commendable, and I believe it will be impetus towards seeing SMEs, or the small medium entrepreneurs, financial institutions, and big corporations to contribute more positive impact to community, planet, and religions. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, I will not prolong my speech. This event highlights the progress of ESG in the Islamic financial industry, and it brought the industry to be much aligned to Maqasid al-Sharia, the higher objective of Sharia. I am honored to be part of this memorable event, and with this, with the lafaz Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, in the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful, I officially launch the Ficus ESG Islamic Framework. Wabillahi taufiq wa hidayah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Okay, thank you very a minimal technical error, but however it is, there you have it, the official launch of the ESG-i assessment framework. Congratulations, Ficus Capital and INSEF University on their success. Now, the moment that we'll be waiting for, perhaps we can just proceed with the next agenda, the organizer, or you would like to? Okay, we'll see the launch, I would say, gimmick. Okay, this is where whoever missed the points I mentioned earlier, this is the part where you have to really listen. Okay, the organizer has already giving me the green light. Let's see. Okay, so can we have Yang Muhammad and also Professor and Encik Azaman to the front of the stage for a photo session? Okay, let's go. And can everyone clap for a while? It's pretty awkward. Okay, together at the front, we would like to invite the panelists, Ms. Rina Leo, Datuk Nick Gordon, Ms. Zakia Ahmad Esa, and Mr. Muhammad Zikri Muhammad Shairi. Together, we invite Mr. Abdullah Hidayat bin Muhammad, Managing Partner of Ficus Capital, and Dr. Iman Tabat, a Research Fellow at UNICEF University, to the front of the stage for a photo session together. And if you want to take the photo, this is your opportunity. Photos. Don't forget to tag us on IG. I think we have the IG handles, right? So yeah, you can search it. Ficus Capital. Okay. Tell me when you guys are done with photo taking, yeah? More flashes at the back. All right. Thank you, everyone. You may be seated. OIB Senator Dr. Zulkifli, Professor Dr. Muhammad Azmi, and Mr. Azamin, please remain at the front. Professor Dr. OIB and also Dr. Anshid Azamin and at the front. Okay. All right. Now, to show our gratitude today, we would like to present a token of appreciation to OIB Senator Dr. Zulkifli Hasan for participating.
This is more package again.
Yeah, this is the Ficus stream. I thank you, OIB Senator Dr. Zulkifli Hasan, Professor Dr. Muhammad Azmi, and Mr. Nur Azamin. Please be seated. Okay, let's pick up where we have left earlier. The video.
In a world where sustainability is no longer a choice but a necessity, micro, small, and medium enterprises are the backbone of our global economy, contributing 70% of GDP and employment. Yet, as our economies aspire to achieve the Global Sustainable Development Goals, navigating the complex landscape of environmental, social, and governance principles can be daunting for these businesses. That's where the ESG-i assessment framework comes in. Developed by combining the Islamic principles, sustainable growth, and financial performance, the ESG-i framework aligns with global ESG and sustainability standards. It serves as a compass for MSMEs, assessing their current standing and guiding them towards robust and ethical growth. At its core lies the quadruple bottom line: planet, people, profit, and principle. A holistic approach we established to ensure the sustainability of every aspect of a company's operation. Through the ESG-i assessment, MSMEs can gauge their sustainability performance across 3 levels: doing no harm, having ESG-i foundation, and doing good. The ESG-i assessment framework with its QBL approach serves as a catalyst for positive change, paving the way for a future where economic growth, sustainability, and ethical principles go hand in hand.
Now, I hope everyone has a better understanding on the overall context of the ESG-i assessment framework, as I promised earlier. At least I did. And now, I would like to seek for information, YB Senator Dr. Zulkifli. We would like to take a refill with you, if you don't mind, from where you're seated. Is it okay? Okay, so everyone, can we gather to the center of the stage to take one Wi-Fi together with one Senator Dr. Zulkifli? Can we have everyone together? So who's going to take the Wi-Fi here? This time Wi-Fi, we got cameras at the front. Not like this. Okay, that's it. Right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. And that, the official launch of ESG-i assessment framework empowering sustainable and ethical growth of MSMEs is concluded. Congratulations once again to Ficus Capital and INSEF University. Okay, come on, a bigger one, please. Congratulations, everyone. All right, we would like for everyone to remain seated as we move forward to our next agenda. Sorry? Let's proceed. Okay, cool. Okay. We will now have an overview of the ESG-i assessment framework presented by Mr. Abdullah Hidayat Muhammad, Managing Partner of Ficus Capital, and Dr. Iman Tabat, Research Fellow, UNICEF University. Please welcome. Is that?
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good morning to everyone. Thank you, Emily, for coming. Thank you, everyone, for being here. It's really, show support to us, and really appreciate your attendance. So we'll divide the overview into two parts. I'll be speaking more on the practical matter, and I like the more technical matter handled by Dr. Iman. So, all right, I have my slide. Okay. All right, how do we start doing this? For Ficus, when we started in 2018, we branded ourselves as Sharia compliant venture capital, and we start to meet a lot of companies, and we start to realize that MSME, or rather at that time when we meet a startup, they actually play a very crucial role for Malaysia economy and globally as well. So as you can see on the slide here. So, and then when we continue meeting companies, we start to realize that not only they are the backbone of the Malaysia economy, they are also actually very, very interested to get to know more with regard to ESG as a whole. So what we do then, we start to understand how many of them really like to adopt ESG. So one thing that I'll show in the next 2-3 slides. One key takeaway that we found along the way when we do a lot of assessment is that most of these companies will perform a lot better if they are complying to certain standard. Be it Sharia, be it halal, be it ESG, be it anything. Because the key ingredient in any company success, and it's very hard actually to convey this message to them, is for them to start having some sense of governance. So this is really, really good signs when we see that 28% of the company are ESG adopters, and then 1/4 of Malaysia SME has adopted some element of ESG. Some element of ESG, if you guys look into that, the G part is actually the governance. Governance as simple as if you go and talk to makcik jual nasi lemak, you ask them, go record your account. Many will not be able to tell you what's their real profit. So recording your account, recording your sales will be one of the first part to ESG adoption. So this is what when we need a lot of MSME, we said that need to start somewhere, something somewhere. Don't talk to them about carbon credit. Don't talk to them about environment, because first they need to survive. But in order for them to survive, they need to understand that first thing first, they should be able to have some element of governance in it. So that's why if I can from the experience that we have, the 1/4, I think majority of them, they actually adopt some element of governance. And we've seen ourselves as well. Most of the companies who don't really adopt any element of governance, they tend to go bust earlier. If you have some element of governance, it's a lot better. So now we look into the 5 key hesitation to ESG adoption. Uncertainty, knowledge gap, financial constraint, reporting framework, which, when you go talk to them, MSME, they get confused. Which one should we look at? Where can we start? This is a real practical issues that people on the ground has. So what we do, that is why in FICAS, what we do, understanding that we think about 1,000 over companies, understanding that what we do, we develop our very own. We will not be like this teacher said, you don't do well and we leave your side. We more like take the approach of Tadaruj, gradual, whereby we try to enhance their governance and enhance their social and environment impact. So, solution typically, when you talk about ESG adoption, whether you follow proper ESG, the global standard, the first thing that they need is financial support. As simple as, you'll be surprised, most of the MSMEs, they don't even have their audited account ready. So that is the first element, and that's the first thing. Before you go and tell them, calculate your electric bill. Keep track of your water bill. That, I think that is later. For them, is to survive, and after survive, we need to enhance their governance first. So, and then obviously the sponsored training, and just like every one of us, if there is any tax incentive, we'll move faster towards that. So that's this MSME. Okay, next. So these are some of the example of things that we've done in this regard. SDG is a guide that helps ESG disclosure to tracks under SC. And then even with regard to Sharia, SC also has come out with Sharia guidelines for the SMEs to adopt. This is among the development, but we haven't seen anyone that try to integrate both. So this is why I think we intend to do the first one who did that. So this is why I mentioned earlier, you like it or don't like it. I think some of you here are MSME yourself. So you like it or don't like it, you cannot avoid from adopting ESG. Going forward, you look at mega trend, you look at World Economic Forum, you look at any kind of reports, United Nations reports, everyone pointing to us, most of the consumer, from the consumer standpoint, consumers are a bit more aware about what's happening to the world. So this is why I said 78% of the consumers, they start to look into more seriously into what are the things that they buy. If you fumble in one of that, most likely they will not come and buy your So that's on consumer part, but that also you can see also the same trend to the investor. Investor now, most of the companies, and if any of the SMEs, we can vouch for this. If you have anything that go against or infringe ESG, most likely you can have hard time getting bank loan. So investor or financial institution, they look into this a bit more seriously. And the requirement is always there, and they increase the requirement from year to year. So this is something that we hope by having this, we'll be able to prepare our MSME towards this investor and financial. And then back to society, and last but not least is the employee behavior. The Gen Z or the whatever new gens that are coming, they start to be a bit more conscious about they want to be affiliated with. who they want to be affiliated with, who they want to work with. They don't want to work with someone that, you know, be viral for not doing good to the society, to planet, and to people. So I think that's my part. I'll give the more technical part to Dr. Iman. Dr. Iman, over to you.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much, Hidayat, for that very interesting overview. Just to touch on the technical parts, all the details that I'm going to be presenting over the next few minutes are available in our report that was just launched. It's publicly available. So I invite you all to please read it, have a look, and reach out if you have any comments or ideas. So the journey of developing the ESG-i framework. As it was earlier mentioned in the keynote addresses and Hidayat's speech, so we started off with a very clear vision. We wanted to develop an assessment framework for MSMEs that combines Islamic principles, sustainable growth, and financial performance. And so we did that through different stages. So we started with a clear vision. We found the quadruple bottom line to meet what we wanted. So we developed the initial assessment, and then it went through a series of engagement with stakeholders and enhancements. We also piloted it at first. And that was really key because when we did one key, and I think some of you have attended our roundtable that was conducted in February 2023. So that was very pivotal because we had different stakeholders with us. And why it's important because, as Hidayat was mentioning and earlier, it's like there are so many key stakeholders that it's not only just SMEs that need to assess themselves. It is, you know, when they go ask for loans, it gets impacted. If they want to export, it gets impacted. And so they're bringing those pieces together is very important for us to connect the dots. And so we heard so much from all the stakeholders that we brought together, including regulators, government agencies, financial institutions, and SMEs themselves. And we heard from them. And then after the roundtable and after the engagement, we realized that we were met with a challenge, which is striking the balance between having something that is simple, that all SMEs can actually relate to and assess themselves through, but at the same time comprehensive enough to capture the complexity of the sustainable frameworks and standards that are out there. And so based on all that input, we embarked on a journey to develop something that is, again, comprehensive, but yet simple. And so we took all the global and national standards and assessment frameworks that were developed internationally and nationally. Nationally, there is PKS Listari, which was under SME Corp, and we mapped it. We looked, okay, what are the elements that are touched on these things? We identified the gaps based on our quadruple bottom line, and then we mapped it against it to ensure that comprehensiveness, at the same time alignment with the national and international standards. And that's also enhanced the granularity of our assessment framework. Along the way, we had a couple of wins, one of which I think that Professor Azmi mentioned in his speech, which our INSEF University secured a grant from MOHI to turn this ESG-i framework. Once we have developed it, we presented to them. We got the grant to turn it into an online portal. And we hope that this online portal we are still developing it. We hope that it can be turned into a connecting point that connects all the dots in the ecosystem. And so we always welcome partnerships and ideas on that as we develop. And the second thing, we also signed an MOU with Alliance Bank, who I'm sure most of you have read the ESG report that they have published last year. It is highly referenced ESG. It talked about like Malaysia, where SMEs are in terms of ESG embracing the ESG and then the path forward. And so we're partnering them and we are their key Islamic academic partner for the ESG 2.0. And in case you're an SME or if you know an SME, we'd really appreciate if you can scan the QR code or reach out to us because we're undergoing a survey for the new report. And then we are collecting the data and analyzing it. And hopefully, inshallah, we'll be publishing that report soon. With them. So after we undergone all those things, all those steps and enhancements, this is the ESG-i assessment framework, pillars and sub-pillars. And so we have 4 pillars, the quadruple bottom line. And as you can see, we made it into 28 questions. However, even though it's just 28 questions, but we can actually extract 70 plus data points, all thanks to the way we structured the questions and the options, but yet we maintained it to be simple so any SME of any size can actually relate to and understand. And so for people, there were The granularity was like people, it has employees, not only employees and labor practice, but also the suppliers, consumers, and the wider community. So just to show you an overview of the questions, if you can have a glimpse of them, they're all phrased in a way that are simple, but the options they capture a very comprehensive set of practices, just so that whatever SME does in terms of embracing their sustainability, we can capture it. And even the options, if you look at our report, it has all the details, even the questions and the potential answers that they can answer, and they're all phrased as such, in such a way that is very simple, yet comprehensive. And we made sure to align with the national practices. So if the government of Malaysia is saying that these are things that are important, we made sure to capture that within our questionnaire to be able to match that. Yeah. And in terms of the methodology of the scoring, so there are two steps in the methodology. So of course, once we had the data, the answers they can pick from, they have that score. And then there are two steps in calculating their assessment, in calculating the score. So the first is normalization, which was very important because different questions had different set of answers. And so to make sure that no score is biased towards one, we made sure that it's normalized and then we aggregated. Now, one key thing is when this score is aggregated, I think based on the video was mentioned earlier, that there are 3 stages of SMEs that we identified based on the range of their score. So entry level, intermediate, and more advanced. So the entry level, we considered it, they do no harm. Then intermediate, they do no harm, but have some sustainability foundation and practices. And the advanced level is doing good. And why it's important to this, because once the SME does our assessments, they do our assessments, they can identify clearly which pillar is performing good and which pillar is not performing so well. And within each, as you can see in the heat map, which areas an SME needs to work on and which areas they're quite good in. And this is not only helpful for SMEs, but also, as we said, we're trying to connect different stakeholders. So this is important for an investor. If they want to invest in them, they can see the assessment. For, let's say, a financial institution or a government agency who's trying to develop policies, if they see the SMEs are doing good or bad in certain areas, they can focus on that. And looking ahead, what we're going to be, as we move on with this, we are continuing to develop our portal that I mentioned earlier. You can take the assessments. Actually, we launched the part of the portal that SMEs can take the assessment through. So they can take the assessment, they can get the score. You can see how is your score for each pillar. So you're welcome to do that. And we will continue to build partnerships as we evolve this platform, because we really hope that this platform would be a connecting point. So if you have any ideas or partnership, we do more than welcome it. And I want to leave you with this thought. So only 8% of SMEs globally have a net zero plan. And even though this only touches on the E part, but it is still important. So only 8% has net zero plan, and only 3 think they might reach it. Now, I don't know which one is more shocking, the fact that it's only 8% or only 3% actually think they might reach it. But the bottom line, the idea that I want to leave you with is that you cannot scale up ambition. So we can be as ambitious as possible. We try to do our parts in connecting the dots and contributing to the ecosystem, and we just hope for the best. And with that, I thank you and welcome any questions later in the panel session. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Abdullah Hidayat and Dr. Iman Tabet. All right, we will now move on to our panel discussion on sustainable and ethical growth for SMEs and startups in Malaysia. This session will be moderated by Dr. Iman herself and will be joined on stage by our esteemed panelists, Ms. Rina Nil, Managing Partner, Ficus Capital, Dr. Nick Borden, Co-founder and CEO, Premium, Ms. Zakia Mat Esa, Chief Sustainability Officer, Bank, SME Bank Malaysia, and Mr. Zikri Muhammad Shairi, Senior Vice President, Social Finance Division, Bank Islam. And I shall now pass this session to Dr. Iman.
Thank you so much, Aida. All right. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So this is a very exciting part for me. Can you hear me? Is it clear? Yeah? Okay. So this is an exciting part, and thank you all for being here. Because as I just mentioned, like I would like us to, if you can imagine a canvas, like a blank page. And we have here with us representatives from the different parts of the ecosystem. And if we can, as we discuss, as we hear from each one of them, if we can imagine the different parts of the ecosystem and link them together, because that's what we would like to do here today. And at the end of it, identify the gaps, and each one of us can think about what can they do. So tomorrow when we wake up, as we start our work or whatever we do on day-to-day basis, how can we contribute into bridging the gap and into this embracing sustainability and ethics? So the panel session is divided into three main parts. Three main points that I want to discuss with our panelists. First is the sustainability and ethics nexus. How do they link sustainability and ethics? And then financing and investment, and how does that empower SMEs? And the last thing is connecting the dots. And first, I'd like to welcome our panelists, and thank you so much for being here. So here we have four esteemed louder. Yeah. Let me try to get closer. Okay, is it better? Yeah. Okay, I'll try to raise my voice. All right. So our first panelist is Reena Neo. She's a managing partner of Ficus Capital. She is a seasoned serial entrepreneur and impact investor with a strong 25 years of track record of success in diverse leadership roles across Asia Pacific. She is recognized as a global women leader and champion of women empowerment, innovation in education, and social enterprise and sustainability. Notable for driving entrepreneurial leadership, governance excellence, and advocating for ESG. Thank you so much, Reena, for being here. Next to her, we have Dato Nick Bowden. He is the founder of Clean. I'm sure most of you I hope most of you have the app. I do. He is an entrepreneur with over 20 years in healthcare, which have enabled him to create solutions to address access to healthcare and promote sustainable practices for the marginalized. His vision to use technology to create behavioral change and monetize plastic has resulted in sustainability platform Clean that brings all stakeholders together. And next to him, we have Inchik Zakia Mat Isa. She is an SME. She serves as the Chief Sustainability Officer at SME Bank Malaysia. Her vast experience of more than 2 decades in financial institutions covering retail, commercial, and investment banking has enabled her to chart SME Bank's sustainability journey, where its maiden sustainability sukuk issuance was awarded the Best Sustainability Sukuk Award. Congrats for that, by the way. And next to her, we have Muhammad Zikri Muhammad Shairi. Right? Did I get that right? He's the Senior Vice President, Social Finance Division of Bank Islam. So Zikri is a Malaysian Acumen Fellow, 2023, who has been in Islamic finance industry for over 17 years. He is currently spearheading strategy and sustainability department in the Group Social Finance Division of Bank Islam Malaysia, which focuses to integrate Islamic social finance instruments of zakah, waqf, sadaqah within Islamic banking framework. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I really appreciate it. So again, just as an introductory, I would give you like a few minutes for you to introduce yourself, and I'd like you to touch on two things. Of course, like your background, what you do, and how what you do, how does it promote sustainable and ethical growth in Malaysia? And what are some of the key challenges, if you want to mention one or two challenges that you faced during pursuing sustainability? I'll start with you, Reena.
Right, thank you. Good morning, everyone. So my name is Reena. I'm one of the co-founder of Ficus. I've been a seasoned investor. I think I started investing in year 2006. Ficus is actually my second fund. I'm Malaysian, but most thought I'm Singaporean. So I've been in Singapore since 1997. Started my first fund, exited, and my colleagues, sort of asked me to come back to Malaysia. That's why I'm here today. So I've been investing, from being an angel investors to wearing the hat of VC. I've seen a lot of success, but also mostly for startups, a lot of failure. And, there is no sort of fact that says that if you do not have governance, it fails. But at least in my personal experience, managing or investing in startups, I think it fails because there was really no rules inside because everybody was trying just to survive. I think they should thrive and not just to survive daily. So, but if you do not measure what you don't know, how can you improve it, right? So back here in Malaysia, besides running FICUS, I'm also the Secretary General for ESG Association of Malaysia. Our president is here today. And why we start the association is because we see the gaps, and there were chatters among the businessmen saying that, wow, the tsunami is coming, but what do we do? Do we follow this standard, that standard? I guess nothing can be just adopted wholesale. We have to look into, especially the culture, the resources that is available to these MSMEs in particular. So I really, I'm very excited that we have a very diversified panel to discuss. There's no fixed solution. But what we have today, it is good today, but we have to have the mindset that it will continue to pivot. But for us all to, be able to appreciate what all this is about, I think awareness is good. Awareness so that we can make a better decision for ourselves or for the company. So thank you so much, and I look forward to a good discussion.
Semua, good morning. By me, Prof, the team at FICUS, Dr. Yi, and my distinguished members, and everyone who's here. I'm Nick. Everyone thinks I'm not Malaysian, but I'm Malaysian, I'm proud to say. I've been here for so long, I'm not Malaysian. I was born in South Africa, so I'm from the global south. So we're from that same economic zone. And I grew up in a tiny kingdom called Swaziland, which is now called Eswatini. It's the king with many wives. Our company, we started in 2018. I'm from a healthcare background. I'm a chiropractor. So if anyone has any problems or joint problems, I'll see you in the hallway afterwards. My mission has been to try and link healthcare with sustainability. That's really what we wanted to do. I happen to run a marathon. So in 2018, I was in Berlin at the end of the marathon at the Brandenburg Gate, very tired. And I was drinking a lot of empty water bottles, and these very distinguished looking people, could be my grandfather, were going around collecting all our bottles. And I said, what are you doing? And he said, oh, we make a lot of money from this. And of course, those that have been to Germany know that there's a thing called a container deposit scheme, where in many countries around the world, when you buy a plastic bottle or an aluminium can, there's a deposit attached to it. And if you put it back into this machine at the back of the store, they're kind of 7-Eleven, it'll print off a piece of paper and you get your money back. And as a result of that, Germany has almost 100% recovery rate for plastic. So we wanted to see how we could develop a similar type of system, but to digitize it without any government legislation around plastic and container recovery. Of course, we have a huge plastic footprint in ASEAN. Philippines, Vietnam, Indonesia, Thailand, and Malaysia account for half of the world's ocean plastic. So we are in that kind of plastic space of recovering containers. And of course, we have a lot of power boxes for your food. Very successful startups like Grab. One of the unintended consequences is that there's a lot of plastic. So we wanted to find a way that people no longer just throw into the tong sampah their plastic bottle, that they believe that there's value in it. So what we developed is a smart AI reverse vending machine. You might have seen them around mainly in the Klang Valley and in Johor Bahru. You put a container in there, we give you 10 points. Those points are then collected into an app called the Flow app, and I get everyone to download that. Rewards. So we're, as far as I know, we're the first company in the world that has actually given people ASP in return for recycling plastic. It was something that we've done. So when I started this business with my partner Zain, who's also here, I wanted to touch on as many SDGs as we could. The one thing is in countries where there are a lot of developing countries, one thing that is common is people are surrounded by rubbish, by plastic. So we wanted to find a way to encourage people to change their behavior by making it simply too valuable to throw that away. And we've had great success. We have almost 100,000 regular recyclers on our app, and almost 70 machines in the Klang Valley. And the most important thing that our company does is that we collect very granular data around who is recycling, what are they recycling, what is their demographic even, when they recycle, etc. And that's how we created our business model, is that we go to companies and corporates and get them to sponsor the machines with wrapping. So it becomes like a branding opportunity for them. And in return, we give them the ESG data. So we really resonate very closely with this amazing framework. And I'm very excited being from the global south, because I think this type of framework and Sharia compliance is going to solve the mess that the Western and the global North have created. So I'm very excited about this and very privileged to be a part of this discussion. In terms of challenges, I know we'll touch on that a little bit later. I think the common one, and I'm glad to have two financial groups on my left, is funding. I funded this, and we funded this on the back of my chiropractic practice. So packing backs was the way that we actually bootstrapped our startup. So it is a real problem, at least in the last 5 years. Having access to ESG type of startups has been challenging. It's always the next kind of food delivery app, or the next e-wallet. And there hasn't been enough focus on unlocking financial assistance for our type of ESG type of businesses. So I'm excited that this is obviously a start to that. And of course, FICUS are very committed to looking at this area of financing. Thank you very much.
Assalamualaikum and good morning, YP, Datuk, Jazamin, and all attendees here. My name is Zakia. I'm from SME Bank. Actually, I intend to introduce myself just briefly, but looking at the two panel, they're cut low, so I need to, enhance a little bit. Okay, basically about me, I've been in banking industry for ever since I graduated. I started from commercial banks, Islamic banks, investment banks, and now going to SME bank. So I call it is like national service, going to a development financial institution to share the experience and knowledge that I have so far. And talking about SME Bank is one of the development financial institution, in short DFI, in Malaysia. We are wholly owned by the Ministry of Finance, supervised by the Ministry of Entrepreneur and Development, KUSKOP, and we are regulated by Bank Negara. And basically, what do? We have a specific mandate. We are offering financing and advisory services to the SMEs, SME Bank, of course, to the SMEs particularly in manufacturing, construction, and services industry. So if we talk about how SME Bank promote this ethical growth in SMEs, basically it is rooted from our own sustainability framework. We have this framework whereby it's backed by our 3 pillars. It's responsible banking, responsible business practices, and creating social impact. If we talk about challenges, of course they are. And without challenges, our life is not that interesting. So basically, from banking perspective, we can look from internal part. Internal part is whereby, in terms of staff, when we embark into this ESG journey, sometime in 2021, it's not something that easy to change the culture, because sustainability or ESG in Malaysia is quite new. So in 2021, we started our 3-year roadmap whereby we come up with the foundation, we come up with the policy, the framework, the working committee, and there it goes. We come up with our own sustainability sukuk program, 3 billion. And as of now, we have issued 2 billion. And Alhamdulillah, we have gained 6 international awards for that, because being the first DFI in Malaysia to issue sustainability sukuk. It's not easy, it's challenging, but worth to do it. And another challenge is on external part. We are managing the customer, and of course, our customers are the SMEs. Most of our customers, the majority is at the small category. And when we look at the statistic just now, not many SMEs really understand or aware of this ESG, the importance of it. So that we really have to go on the ground and talk to the customer. And we realize that we have to speak the language, as mentioned by one of the speakers before. We cannot say what is your scope 1 and scope 2. They don't understand. So we have to ask what is your fuel consumption, what is your electricity bill. So how SME Bank bring the customer in this sustainability journey is through awareness, engagement, we provide training to them, and we also provide financing for the customers. I think I stop here for this round. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. YB, Datuk Prof, Cik Azamin, distinguished panels, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Zikri from Bank Islam Malaysia Berhad, rejoined Bank Islam in 2018 to execute the social finance agenda of the bank. We started with the Sedekah House, the catalyst of the social finance for Bank Islam, whereby if we want to focus to the vulnerable segment among the underbanked micro entrepreneurs, using the typical structure, funding structure of normal banking, is quite challenging to us because we are relying on the depositors fund. So that by having the Sedekah House, we can create and receive alternative funding from donors, from funders, and so on, which enable us to provide Itikat Bangkit microfinance based on Qardul Hasan 0% to the underbanked micro entrepreneurs, and we blend with the grant as well as the training as well as the business mentoring. So that's the mandate for me. I'm honored today to be here because most of the time I will be with the underbanked micro entrepreneurs at the street as well as at the villages to understand the crux of the issues, challenges faced by them, especially when we discuss about ESG. Of course, the challenges that we have is to make them aware why they have to embrace the ESG and sustainability in their business, why they are struggling to survive, as well as to struggle to understand the needs of having a proper bookkeeping, to understand the term in ESG, while they are still difficult to perhaps understand the terminology of balance sheet as well as the P&L. So this is the thing that we have, but definitely this segment is the most impacted sectors when the climate change happen. We have some micro entrepreneurs in Taman Sri Muda Shah Alam 2022 being impacted with the flood, as well as the uncommon floods in few states. So this is the thing that really make them important and crucial to embrace the ESG in their context. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, for that brief introduction. Very informative, very diverse, I'd say. And hopefully we'll get a bit deeper into the different parts of what some of the points that you have mentioned as we go on. So the first area that I want to touch on for this panel is the nexus between sustainability and ethics. And I'd like to start with you, Rina. I know you did talk about how it evolved in sustainability, but the question is, I mean, you've been in the field for a long time. How did you, let's take just the past 5 years, how did you see sustainability and ethical practice when it comes to sustainability merging with ethics evolved? And did sustainability nudge us to become more ethical?
I think there's a lot happening in the last 5 years, but if we trace back, many, many years ago, the word sustainability or the practice of sustainability has always been there. It's just that, of course, ESG maybe is a 3-word, it's easier to pronounce, so everybody is aware of that. But I'll talk about FICUS as an investors, and the last couple of years, we have seen a lot of startups, whatever business they're in, they said, I'm a sustainable business. It's just like in the past, everybody's deck says, oh, my business is powered by AI.
but what kind of AI? The depth is really not there. But I think while the awareness is there, there are also challenges translating these whole complex pictures to the MSMEs. How I would actually talk to them, it would be like, imagine, ESG or sustainability is like the thread in your dress, right? You can have beautiful buttons to decorate and all this, but without this thread to sew and to intertwine all your business strategies together, you're going to be, working silo. And I think most people thought that ESG is just a badge to earn. It's not a badge to earn. It's a practice, it's a culture that you have to ingrain in your business. In most businesses, we have a strategy house, and ESG should be part of your strategy. It's not something that you go for an exam, you earn the badge, and that's it. Yeah, because in many cases, of course, we ask people to disclose, and those that are public listed, they have no choice but to start to disclose. But nobody is really going to sort of, if you're an SMEs, nobody is going to put you in jail or give you a penalty if you did not disclose. It's voluntarily, right? Why volunteer? Because now even the regulators don't force you, the consumers are forcing you. The young people, they don't even want to work with you if you don't have a sustainability team. They don't feel it's sexy to work with a company that does not care about the planet and other people. So the consumer demand, and to also manage the reputation. I used to be on the board of Martrade, and I think being the body, responsible to help our exporters, they are the ones who take the first hit because you deal with people outside. Of course, if you are from a company in Kedah trying to sell to Johor, and that's all your market, you really don't have to care right now. But if you are also supplying to the big MNCs, that's where I think the big word scope 3 comes in. So when I had a conversation, I was moderating a panel, and a property construction company said, "Oh, we are so green, we are sustainable." But now comes the headache where I have 3,000 local suppliers that I have to deal with. So how do I explain to them? And these local suppliers are the ones that really need the funding, the awareness, the help, the guidance to actually comply. So I asked the guy, what if they don't comply? Sorry, you won't be in my vendor list. But of course, we won't implement it. It will be gradual. So I think, the consumer demand, the reputation is pushing everyone to adopt. But comes back to the question is, how do I start? Yeah. Where do I start? So the assessment to me is like going to a GP for a health check, right? And see where you are not doing that well, because nobody asks you to have a perfect score. The disclosure means that, I know I'm not doing well at this part, but I intend to do it better the next year, right? So it's an annual thing. It's not at one time, right? And I think regulators also play a big role. But just by caning someone and putting a regulation, I think it probably doesn't work. So I would say the two R's, the regulators and the reward system. I've seen, for example, in Singapore, the government want the people to be healthy, to be more sociable, so they give out this little Fitbit. And now all the aunties are walking every 5 km because after a certain miles, you get a free NTUC voucher. Right? So the incentive has to come together, right? And then lastly, I think the challenges for these ESG, I would say adaptability, is the amount of data that we have to face with. But to be frank, every big MNCs has got their enterprise SAP, Oracle, blah, blah, blah. Even if you're the smallest one, you would have your accounting system. But maybe all these systems are working in a very modular format. So integrating it and putting it in a more holistic manner, in a way where the company is not able to look at, things that are intangible. Happiness of your, employee. How do you measure that, right? But you know that people are your greatest asset. not the physical asset. So I think technological advancement is crucial in order for us to help us actually push this agenda forward. And of course, lastly, the question mark about ESG, there is awareness in terms of there's many companies, many ESG companies starting up. You've seen, people's LinkedIn suddenly change from some other profession to become a, ESG expert. That's also, good and bad depending on how you actually use it. So I think whether this ESG wave has pushed us to be more ethical, I think we are more aware right now. I've seen, for lack of better, examples, picking up rubbish is not something that you need a framework or a paper to teach you. It's everybody's, responsibility. But people are doing it in a greater way right now. So cleaning up, that's all good for me. Yeah. But I think, while this is a new opportunity for everyone, those with awareness will have a better leverage. The tide is coming. So if you don't care about it, you might, drown in that tsunami. But if you're ready, then you have a chance to ride the tide. Right. So I guess that's my personal opinion. I'd like to hear from the rest.
Thank you so much. And I think you touched on a lot of things, a lot of points, because when we talk about the pressure, for some sectors, I think the pressure is more regulatory. So it's like top down. And then for some sectors that are retail, as you said, they're consumer based. So you see a lot of pressure from the consumers. And I guess pressure, whether it's good or bad, as long as it's leading to good actions and better behavior, then I think we are better off. But then again, with what you talked about in terms of supply chain and exporting, there's a lot of course, we talk about like greenwashing, and then we talked about greenwashing for a couple of years, and then we started talking about green hushing because people are so scared of greenwashing people to the point they were like, okay, you know what? We're not going to announce anything, even though we have some goodness in us. So it's always like a balance that we need to strike. And I think when you talked about the regulatory and reward balance, I remembered what Dr. Nick was saying is like, we are we're rewarding people. So that's something that people, again, even if the pressure, regardless of where the pressure is coming from, they would want to do it for the reward. And that's something that is positive. Thank you so much. So with that, I would like to move to Dr. Nick. If you would like to comment on what Rina said, feel free. But I want to just pick up your brain on where do you think ethics meet sustainability? Where are we at? And I'd like to ask you another question that is more personal for me, because I feel like in the transition space, when we talk about transition, right, we are thinking about how can we go from being non-sustainable to sustainable. And so inherently, it is somewhat obsolete. Like we hope when we do transitional efforts, we hope that we will end up being obsolete, right? So we're starting with plastic. We would like to try to recycle plastic, but at some point we would like to not use plastic at all. How do you develop a sustainable, thriving business model while having that in mind? Like, or do you just block it, or like how do you? Yeah, please.
Thank you. I think again, the way that we ethically approach this is really defining what we would call what is economic growth. I think you've really got to go down to that, right? So, GDP. These are things GDP doesn't bring in or recognize things like natural capital or how people feel. Do they enjoy doing their work? So I think the whole kind of beyond GDP movement around how do we really assess if a country is growing? Because you could have a raw GDP, but what we've seen is inequality has got much bigger. So that's really the ethics. And again, I touched on it earlier. I think if you're realistic about plastic, I mean, that's the area that we're in. Half the world's population don't have access to clean water. Plastic bottles is the only way they get clean water. And it's an unfortunate necessity that we have. And again, coming from Africa, our rivers are polluted. The rivers are promoted because of multinationals that take it's outside of the global south and concentrated in New York and the UK. So I think, it's up to the global south again to try and solve this problem that we've put in the global north. You take e-vehicles, this huge transition to battery vehicles. I mean, those 7 of the 10 producers of lithium and cadmium come from the global south. So again, we're having our resources used to solve the north problem, yet the inequalities just got bigger. So I think for me, sustainability needs to be around, how do you frame your ethical view of the world? What do we want to leave behind for our next generation? And I feel, the Sharia side of what we're talking about here today is so important because, even as a non-Muslim, I recognize the fact that Sharia speaks to leaving behind something that is good and is compliant and is not unethically profiting out of nature, for example. So it's a complicated space. I mean, for me, greenwashing is a huge issue in this country. I remember seeing a bottling company won an award from one of our kind of green organizations for compliance, but that was just because their factory had a good ESG rating. But what's the factory producing? Plastic bottles. All right, those plastic bottles still wash up on the beaches in Terengganu. They're in our drains. What is that company doing to get back their plastic bottles? So I think we're in a really interesting space. I was with YB Nick Nazmi a couple of weeks ago, where we presented to him this concept of a national plastic recovery fund. And that's got to be industry based. These multinationals and these listed companies need to take responsibility, not just to make obscene amounts of money from these bottles, plastic bottles as an example, but what are they doing to recover them back? So they need to contribute into some form of EPR fund. Number one. Number two, there needs to be a consumer-facing initiative, and this is container deposit schemes, the type of stuff that we're doing, where Malaysians are incredibly good recyclers. Almost every single food and plastic bottle container we've recovered is clean, and we are then driving those containers into feedstock, into a massive recycling industry to turn that back into rPET or reusable things. So I think the time is right now for us to be able to look at ethics and sustainability as actually meaning what you say. And I think that's really, really important. It's a struggle for us. We've had hundreds of corporates in Malaysia to work with them. There's also this confusion between CSR and ESG. There's a very poor understanding, and it's kind of just that these 3 letters have replaced those 3 letters, but it's completely different. So a lot of companies think that ESG is taking your staff to a beach and kind of Port Dickson to clean up. And by the time you turn around, the bottles have washed back up, and it's like, we've done our ESG for the year. So I think we have a lot of work to do ahead of us. It's exciting work, and I think it's something that has to happen because, again, if you go back to what are we doing for our natural capital, what are we leaving around for our next generation, while being making sure that we're narrowing the gap on inequality. And the beautiful thing about our business is it does that. We touch those people, B40, etc. So that's really what I think.
Thank you, Ivy.
Yes,
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. I think that is you touch on a few things that are very interesting. And then that links to what Rina was saying earlier. And I really think, because as we talk about just transition, and we know a lot of those statistics that are published, a lot of times see ESG, top performance. And then when you dig down just a bit below the surface, you realize that are we really sustainable? And that's what we try to do with the ESG framework. Like, we're trying to meet SMEs at where they are. Like, whatever you do, we try to capture that. Because sometimes, as you said, as Rina said, there are so many SMEs that do things they did not know that it is sustainable. It's not according to those international, it's not scope 3, it's not labeled, but they make sure that appliances are efficient. They try to minimize waste and all that. So we try to capture that. And I think that is important for just transition. And even when links to SMEs that are exporting, trying to be part of the international supply chain that comes in. So thanks for that. I'd like to pick on Zakia, if I may. There's a quote that was, I think, by the UNGC that said, there are only 2 options for Malaysian SMEs: comply with ESG practice or lose business. Or lose business opportunities. Now, what's your opinion about this statement? Is the stick the right way to promote ethics?
Thank you. I think the question we should ask to our fellow SMEs here. Long term. So actually, we have one option compared to ESG. We can use it now so that it is for the sustainability in the long run. So basically, I I agree with that, but it's not the option only. The revised statement.
You're removing the one option.
Yeah.
One option.
It's only one option.
Dictatorship.
Okay. Basically, in SME bank, of course, like you know, some of the customers are SMEs. We really have to get close to the SMEs. We have SMEs here, right? And we understand their key problem in order for us to bring them on to the sustainability journey. Because we understand pandemic, they're really struggling to sustain the business. So when we talk about ESG or sustainability and it's long term, they will be saying that, come on, we have to sustain now in order for us to sustain in the future. So actually, what do we need to do? How do we assist them? Okay, SD is one of the options, but I think you will have to be the operation balance. So we can't only give sticks, we have to give carrots as well. So the analogy is like in school. Okay, so those can answer the question, they will get sweets or whatnot. And those who cannot answer keep on feeling they will have a stick. But again, is it something that effective? Yes, it is. Because I think most of us, when we were in school, we can see the stick. I think our generation, we can see the stick, right? So I think how actually we need to understand how can we assist SMEs? What are their problem statements? What are the points? So first and foremost, we have to ensure that they are aware of the importance of this ESG. So in SME, when we do survey of our customers, more than 95%, I think 97% of them saying that they're interested to on in this sustainability journey. Okay, I will say that but now I too is there already. But again, how? Because when you talk to them, they will say that yes, I know it's very important, but it's not in the important but not urgent to them. So it's in the list, but not at the top priority. So what we need to do, again, we have to ask, being an SME bank, we need to ask what we need to do. So in SME bank, actually we have obtained a grant fund from the government to train the SMEs to give, actually we give free trainings, ESG trainings for them. There are 3 phases. The first phase is more on awareness. So we onboard them. They will be taught on what is this ESG about, why is it important to them and whatnot. And the second phase is when they are well aware of that, they will be able to again measure the baseline. They need to know where they are in order for them to let's say on GHG emission. If they know the baseline, it's easier for them to come up with the plan. But again, when we talk about plan, it's quite far. So now we really need to bring our SMEs to educate them without them and on what into this ESG journey they might be lose out, because we understand that as Rina mentioned, our consumer now is more aware of environmental products, and even the investors or the bankers actually for SME, we do accept whether the customer is ESG compliant or not. We are DFI, but if we were to look from the commercial banks, they are of course, and some of them they don't accept customers that not in this ESG journey, that's not in this, because when we committed ourselves to be net zero, SME Bank, we are committed to be net zero by 2050, we have to measure our scope 3. So if our customer, 99 of our customers did not onboard in this ESG journey, how would we be able to reach this net zero? Yes, it's 2050, but it's not that far actually. And to answer the question that whether stick is something that doable, yes, it is, but we cannot too strong, I think. Maybe at initial phase, maybe we need them to capture their data and report so that they will know the baseline, and from there you can assist them on how to come up with their transition journey towards their to decarbonize their business. And again, if we were to look from the angle of bankers, it's all about, I think it's not bankers, I think SMEs as well, it's all about what do I get? What is the ROI? For bankers and non-bankers, and when my initial proposal to the management, the question is that what is the ROI? So I don't have the formula to calculate the ROI on ESG or sustainability at the moment. If anyone can assist me, I would welcome. But again, it has to be balanced, realistic. That is the answer.
Thank you. Thank you. And I think each one of you have mentioned so far the reward elements, like how do we enable that? And so, and now we're talking about the financial intermediation, which is the second point we wanted to talk about. And I think, Puan Zakia, you did mention about what SME Bank does. And I want to hear from Zikri from Bank Islam, from your experience. I know you talked about you work a lot with marginalized groups and people who are unbankable. Now, there's a lot of movement, especially after COVID, like Zakia mentioned, that a lot of SMEs were affected by COVID, and they're still trying to recover a couple of years later. So how do you, and now like there's so much government moving towards, social finance, blended finance, that even retail banks are looking at how can they contribute to this, right? And I know SME Bank is a government agency, but how do retail banks come into the picture? And if you can touch on that, and because banks, especially retail, they're usually traditional lenders, right? You just have the cap of, okay, I'm just lending you money, you pay me back later, and that's it. But how are banks now with that limited bandwidth fitting in all these different new pieces, especially with the ecosystem? If you can touch on, like, how do you link with what SME Bank does? Where do the lines draw? Yeah.
Thanks, Dr. Iman. When Bank Islam decided to go seriously on social finance, we define what social finance in our perspective, because we don't want to replicate what has been done by the state Islamic religious councils, what have been done by NGOs and the civil society organizations. So we define that we have to nurture the underbanked to become bankable. So that's the underlying approach that we put. So meaning to say that we don't deviate from the role of the financial intermediary. So as what Puan Zakia mentioned just now, to make them bankable, meaning to say that we need to preparing them to comply with a lot of things so that later on, they can have access to the funding and financing, for example, on ESG. So this is the thing and the challenge. As Rina mentioned just now about the rubbish, right? So if we can see where the micro entrepreneurs assemble in our neighborhood, for example, in our night markets, in our Bazaar Ramadan, I believe that all Malaysians have been in Bazaar Ramadan or night market, but have you been seeing night market and Bazaar Ramadan after the session, after the period, the time period? It's a lot of waste, rubbish that is not managed properly by the individual entrepreneurs, so that we can see the rubbish perhaps the awareness and the mentality said that it's okay because after this, there will be the local authorities to clean up all the rubbish. So this is the thing, the awareness that we should instill into them. So when to enable them to become bankable, so we have make some adjustment in terms of our approach. So if a typical banker, we disburse the financing, then that's it. So bank will don't have the engagement with that entrepreneurs perhaps until they have the problem, payment default, for example. So we tweak the approach so that we have close engagement with these entrepreneurs before, during the assessment, credit assessment, as well as after the disbursement. Not for the period of 3 months or 6 months, but the whole tenure of the financing, 3 years or 5 years of microfinance. So we work together with the change makers, with the training implementation partners, the business coaches, to monitor them, to make alignment with what the aspiration of the bank from the perspective of social impact, as well as the sustainability that can be inculcated into that modules and the approaches. So this is the thing that we do. The continuous monitoring, we have 5 components of the entrepreneurship development, post-disbursement, mentoring and continuous business coaching, which we will inculcate this kind of ESG and all those sustainability things. We make them to meet with the successful entrepreneurs so that the growth mindset can be inculcated to them. And we also create business networking session to them because they are underbanked micro entrepreneurs. They are one-man show in surviving in their business, operating their business, not like normal SME. They don't have opportunity to mingle around with the other business owners like SME as well, because they are busy with the domestic problems, one-man show. So that we create that session so that they can appreciate, experience the session. From there, they can have that kind of culture into them to meet the other business owners and create the supply chain between them. And we also support with the banking solutions, as well as the awareness on them, and as well as penetration, market penetration, as well as centralized marketing. So that's how we did on the underbanked micro entrepreneurs, so that later on they can become bankable.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I think that's very interesting because yes, like I think Ponzaki and you yourself mentioned as well, when you deal with SMEs, some of them are not startups, like, you know, with embedded sustainability. A lot of them are like moms and pops shops that are struggling on day-to-day businesses. That's why we ensured that the ESG-i framework also has that financial part, because a lot of sustainability frameworks, they just look at, okay, your ESG, not necessarily your financial performance. Are you survival? Like, you know, are you on survival mode? Because if you're in survival mode, you don't know if you're meeting your day-to-day business needs, how can you even think about other stuff? And so we make sure that we incorporate that. And I think what you said is very interesting. Thank you for the efforts that you do. Now, the last round is connecting the dots. And I would like to pass the mic again, one more round for each of the panelists. And I want you to think, or like just in a few minutes, describe your role of the role of each entities that are here, other than yourself, and what can your entity benefit from them. So not necessarily personal. So if we talk about from Bank Islam, not necessarily Bank Islam, but the banking industry. What do we need from banking industry? That's your cue to ask people if you want. Yeah, but so what can we, just to connect, because we're all here trying to do our parts. So if Rina, you can tell us, like, what do you need from the government agencies, the startups, and the retail banks, and so on. Yeah, thank you.
So I guess for FICUS, it's a first time fund. We do face a lot of challenges as well. I mean, being a VC is not all glamorous. Startup need to raise money from VCs. VCs need to raise money from our institutional investors. So when we first started FICUS, we went around like any startup to pitch our idea, to pitch our, this great idea of starting a Sharia fund. And everybody was looking at us, like who are you, and where do you come from? I guess track records and the persistency is important. For FICUS, I think it was very clear among the founders that we wanted to be more than just a financial investor. VC, some people call us vouchers because we tend to give very, very non-attractive terms and conditions to the startups, which happens. I mean, I ran my previous funds. I must admit that some of the terms are basically everybody wants to. I want to buy low, they want to sell high. So it's about negotiation. But what I appreciate about the Sharia compliant terms and structurings that we use is that we are trying to be more fair to the founders, right? We take equal risk. And some of the terms, if you guys have dealt with VCs, are really, tying your hands left, right, center, and you have no way to get out. So better get a good friend if you have a good lawyer friends, if you're a startup. And I think, it is not about being Sharia compliant, therefore we only need to invest in Muslim companies. For us, the core investment is actually in technology. And as my colleague Hidayat said, everything is, until it's proven it's halal, until it's proven halal. So most of the time in technology space, we don't find that prominent, so-called, the negative part of it, technology. I mean, how much CO2 can they emit? But as in we're dealing with startup, I think for us, the S and the G part is very, very important. Yes, when we say we invest in green tech companies, if this green tech company is good, they are doing all or they have the technology to save the planet, the world, yes. But if they are run by not so good people, what's the point? Right? So we focus on that. So during FICUS assessment, we have our analysts to do the assessment, but the additional step of ESG assessment, whereby Hidayat and myself, when we talk to the entrepreneurs, to the team, we basically have our own ways of, recording if they are compliant, to what we want. Because for VCs, we take long-term partnership with the startups. And we do have some influence in how we can help to shape the company. More so because we need them to be able to survive the next round of funding and moving on. So we definitely have a better say than the banks or the loans, or if they go to someone for loan, because we can also put in our network, which we do, like post monitoring of the investments. So I think if a company goes through these FICUS assessment, a due diligence assessment that includes this ESG component, whether we invest or not is a separate question, but we do hope that after this screening process, they are better equipped to actually face the other VCs. And why we do that, of course, we want our investee company to be able to secure bigger funds, to be able to have a bigger company that actually acquire them, or to even go IPO, for example. And that PEs are actually mandating all their portfolio company to be ESG compliant. So now that you know that your targets are these PE firms, why wait? Why wait until the day? It's better to be ready so that you have an edge over the others. Startups are very competitive. Both are chasing that $1 in FICUS pocket. But if you can show us that you have taken into consideration, the environment, the social, the wellness of your team, which is very important, and that you have governance. Governance doesn't mean that you have to follow, the public listed way of doing things. You have to produce an SOP that thick. But governance simply means that you have some business continuity plan. You have people responsible for certain things that and if event that things happen, you know what to do. right? So I think for FICUS, I'm sort of really proud that my team, although it was very hard, but we chose to do this path. And we're seeing great results. But as in all frameworks and effort, there are still ways to learn because we're still dealing with human beings. Yeah. So that's the most difficult challenge for us. But inshallah, we're moving forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rina. All right, Nick, what do you need from everyone?
So I would actually need everyone to just basically do what you can do. And then I think I really like the clean, idea of, recycling. I think every one of us wants to recycle. It's just that the thought of I have to bring this recycling back to don't know where, and I always forget about it. So I think it's the infrastructure. It's like people say, everybody should drive an EV, but then, there is no charging station, then my fear, anxiety, is there. So FICUS has a portfolio, is an EV company as well. And I think while people are saying that EV is not really that clean, lithium battery is, has got a lot of issues as well. But the reason why we invested in this is that the technology for this company that we invested in, it has a second life. That means you can use the lithium battery again. That is the IP of it. So I think to end with this, I think it is not a person's job. It is the entire nation's job. Everybody can do their part, and from the audience, I think most of you are MSMEs. If you need funding, please come to FICUS. It doesn't matter if you don't have an ESG roadmap or anything. We are here to help. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Do you give personal loans? Just kidding.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Rina. All right, that's it.
Yes, so I think we can have a first valuation and really, I guess, should be a good starting point. No, and so I think just as usual for how we show our natural capital and resources, in a sense, I think it's also as usual for banks, right? And I'm quite fascinated to hear a lot of the on-the-ground work, particularly that you've been doing to try and approach the unbankable. And I think if we're able to look really on projects that speak to something that hasn't already been mentioned, and that's the circular economy. So I think circular economy is another real area that probably needs another whole seminar to go through. But what we've managed to do, I'll use the ASB example. So what happened is you collect, I think it was 50 bottles, plastic bottles. Those points you could swap for 10 ringgits worth of ASB through Amanah Saham. And what's interesting because I think we signed up, 5,000 of our recyclers did this. So it's about 50,000 ringgits worth of Amanah Saham. They were very smart. The link from our app would take you through to a micro site where you would sign up. If you were already a customer, obviously you would log in. But if you weren't a customer, you'd have to open an account. So now you've got a customer acquisition that's going on. You had to ringgit in, and then they would top you up 10. So the customer acquisition fee was 3 ringgit, which is extremely low for anyone who's in the digital space. And 40% of those 5,000 people were new customers. So we've had discussions with banks is that, how do we get the unbankable banked? Something as simple as using one of our machines and our recycling platform could be that people could open up an account and you could put 10 ringgit in for them. So that they have a starting point to be able to have a bank account. So these are the circular economy opportunities that we've proven in Malaysia. And I think going to kind of your hat in hand asking for a whole bunch of money, I think that's changed. So working with a bank like yourselves to go, okay, Zikri, what are you challenged with on the ground with, I'm assuming, a lot of B40 folk? How can our impactful solution, supported by yourself, roll out into these communities, Pasamalams, we're talking about them, be able to achieve what you as a bank want to achieve? And then, of course, At the same time, we're meeting all the ESG-i components as well. So I think that's really how we look at it. I think those days of downloading the SME bank form and filling it on and speaking to an officer, and the officer doesn't understand ESG,
Yeah.
that has to change as well. So I think that's really where we would love to be able to have those conversations and maybe more that kind of concept for the other panelists to say other companies can also do that. How do we work with the bank to achieve your targets, which would involve funding, but means that then instead of huge adverts in the newspaper, which might cost you 50,000 ringgit once off, that's the cost of having one of our machines for a year that creates 3,000 new recyclers and opens up 1,000 bank accounts.
Yeah.
Right? So I think impact is really where my passion is, and linking that to the circular economy and addressing the real needs on the ground is where we would like that kind of discussion.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Nick. Puan Zakia, how can we support your ESG journey?
Okay, we have a long ESG journey, so please come on board. Okay, basically, how do we connect the dot? I normally tell my team, how do we complete the jigsaw puzzle so that we know what is this all about? So basically, if we were to relate what we're doing today, we are launching ESG-i framework. Okay, so what is next? If we have a good framework, but it's not being used by anyone, it's just there.
Yeah.
So how do we connect the dot? So how do we entice all the SMEs out there to use this ESG-i framework? Okay, from SME we can educate our customers to be familiar with this framework because for your information, SME Bank is we do Sharia compliant financing only. So the Sharia Makasih is already embedded in our assessment. And next, after this, maybe Bank Islam or Datuk Nick and Yuna, you can again put this ESG-i framework so that we again connect the dot. Because if the SME they don't know who they are, they don't have the line again, they don't know where to start. So I think among the four pillars, we can collaborate because thank you to Rina, because if you start the entrepreneurs with start right at the very beginning, so when they come to us for financing, they're already there. And for Datuk Nick, you have this program whereby you can emulate that into our customer, because we also have customers that involved in this recycling of bottles. So maybe we can match that. And for Bank Islam, actually we are together in ITK program under Bank Negara. So we do support our customers, the micros, and also we have this Ishraf program whereby we give training and seed capital to the asnaf to start business. And so far, alhamdulillah, they're doing well and they have reached the sale that we forecasted. They have already that. So it's something that we can collaboratively strategize on that basis.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Puan Zakia. That was a perfect way to connect the dots. And we'll take, Ficus and INSEF will take that invitation very seriously. I'll follow up on that.
Yeah, just a simple one from me. I think, yes, Bank Islam and SME Bank already collaborated, whereby we implement the multiple model bank in implementing social finance. We providing the funding to SME Bank and SEDA, and the successful graduated Asnaf entrepreneurs from SME Bank and SEDA being connected to Bank Islam for the microfinance in the upward mobility, paving the journey to these micro entrepreneurs. So that's already done and is practicable and workable. Datuk Nick, yes, definitely we can explore that. We love to see and to hear more from you. And Rina, definitely from Ficus, we are also considering and exploring the social VC to the entrepreneurs that we detected the upward mobility. And definitely to the research team, the senior management of Bank Islam already given some green light just now for me to announce that we can consider to adapt the framework for the 900 to 1,000 of our underbanked micro entrepreneurs currently on our purview. So that
Thank you so much.
we will have that further session with you after this.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thanks for giving me great news. Mission accomplished. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much. I would like to thank every single one of you. Thank you so much for being here, and thanks to the audience for staying, until now. Thank you so much. And for those who are asking about the framework, because I received a few questions about the framework, you can next. Yeah, so you can access the white paper. It is online, publicly available. And you can also, for SMEs, you can access the assessment and you can take it. And you can also reach out to us at any point. You can reach out to us if you have any questions, if you have any ideas, collaborations, partnerships. We are more than welcome. We welcome all the questions and ideas and all. And with that, I would pass it back to Aida. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. Thank you.